Okay, my beautiful friends, here we go. Uh, where to start this morning? So it is Wednesday, October 26th, 2022. Look, what could we talk about? 1,000 things. Let's start off with this. So we got this issue again. Trade deficit continues to widen. Are you shocked about that? No. You know what? You know what really bothers me? I'm going to tell you what really bothers Greg Mannarino. It's the propaganda. It's the lies, the deceptions, the distractions. It's the look here's and the don't look there scenario that seems to be, the main objective of every single mainstream media news outlet. And the fear campaign, make people afraid of everything and anything. And that's it. You control their minds. And this campaign, this fear campaign is just going to get worse here. New variants, nuclear war, global slowdown, people suffering, can't make ends meet, housing bubble. I mean, you can go on and on here. Recession fears, everything. Okay. And who's behind all of it? I'm going to give you one guess. Who runs it all? Who runs the economy and the financial system? Well, it's central banks. Who controls the flow of information that is bled out to the people of the world? Well, it's central banks too. They're in full control of it all. I mean, you want an example of that? How about Nick the Pig? I'm going to keep using Nick the Pig here. And how they played that off on Friday. We had three pretty nice rallies in this market here. 10-year yield reversing lower, dollar lower. What else would you expect in this environment where nothing makes sense anymore? Because it's all managed. It's being managed by runaway institutions who are hell-bent on destroying the global economy by keeping people, again, lulled into some sense that there is normalcy. Meanwhile, propagandizing them and keeping them in a state of fear. The worst thing you can do to any living thing is keep it in a state of fear, because then they get into, again, this mode of learned helplessness. They feel like they can't do anything. They become paralyzed like a deer in the headlights. And that's what's happening here. These institutions, and again, the central banks who run the entire world, and they are the one world government at this point here, they have a stranglehold on the world that is so tight, and they're continuing to tighten that noose on everyone. Not so much, obviously, the rich, the well-off, but prior members of the middle class. And we're seeing such a phenomenon occur, something that you and I have spoken about from years and years ago, how we would witness an elimination of an entire class of people. It's kind of funny. I think about stuff I used to speak about and how it's now happening, and how people told me how wrong I was. Oh, this would never happen. They need the middle class. They don't need the middle class. Okay. What they want here is control. And in fact, it's going to get a lot worse than that, because I sincerely believe what I'm about to tell you. And of course, I'm going to get flack for this, but I believe beyond any shadow of a doubt that the mission here, the final solution, which I've said I don't know how many times over how many freaking years, of central banks, is to vastly reduce the global population via any mechanism they can, whether it is going to be expanding wars, nuclear wars, or a complete meltdown of the financial system, which I think is the most likely scenario. Who knows what the trigger is going to be? It's kind of interesting. I was talking to my friend and yours, Chuck Barone, yesterday. I hope you check out Chuck's channel, all right? Chuck is a good guy, and he's a smart guy. I'm going to put a link to Chuck's channel, Chuck Barone, in the description of this video. We're both on the same page with some event is going to occur, okay? I think we're all on the same page with this. And, here's the deal with this event thing. I've been saying for a couple of weeks, watch for a false flag. Watch for a false flag. I think they're already leading up to a false flag. This whole thing going on, Russia, Ukraine, I don't even want to talk about it. Okay, this dirty bomb issue, whatever. Okay, the leading up to a false flag is going to be pretty big. All right, if that does end up happening, whatever. Okay. Could that be the trigger that sets this whole thing off? I'll tell you why I don't think so. All right. A lot of you have written to me about this already. Generally, when an event happens that really gets this whole thing going, and what am I talking about? I'm talking about a debt market implosion, obviously. Okay. If you follow my work, you know that the debt market is the greatest threat to humankind, period. It way worse, obviously, than global warming or even nuclear war. A debt market implosion is going to change not just the economic and financial landscape of the world. It's going to wipe out a large portion of the population here as people take to the streets and go into some kind of a survival mode. And then, of course, more control here. Supply chains will be completely cut off. There'll be no transactions anymore. Your cash would be worthless for the most part here. Inflation would skyrocket beyond your wildest freaking dreams here. And then, of course, they're going to issue in a new system, which they already have. They're just preparing this. We're all being prepared as if we're some kind of a meal ready to eat. Okay, we're being prepared for this. You and I have been so far ahead of the curve on all of this. It's just frankly incredible in my view. And we're going to stay there, believe me, because I've been saying for years that some people, and I believe, you and me are included in this, are able to see down the road a little further than the next guy. Because most people, again, have been so propagandized and distracted and deceived on every level. They don't know what's going on here, nor can they react to it because they've been lulled into this sense of learned helplessness. It's pretty straightforward here. Anyway, so with that said, keep all these things in mind. And yesterday, my idea with Emanon, here, just do one good deed. How about just one a week? We could change the world, people, but it looks like this whole thing is spiraling out of control very, very rapidly. And the fact of the matter is, we can say, you and I, that it's spiraling out of control, but the fact is, it's central banks pushing us this way. So they're in full control. There's no such thing as this, as chaos here. This is deliberate. This is a pathway central banks have set the entire human race on. They keep pushing us further and further down the road here, leading the vast majority of the people to slaughter. All right. And it's pretty obvious that this is what's going on. Surging inflation is not getting any better. Debts and deficits continuing to go wild. You think this is by accident, really? Global economy in free fall? I don't think so. I don't think any of this is. Anyway, the demonization of people and the way they kind of put everyone in, okay, you have to hate these people because of that, and you have to hate these people more because of that. You think any of this is really just not set up? It's been going on for a very, very long time, but over the last several presidencies, it's gotten very, very polarizing. Again, it's all just a way to set up the public for what is coming. And what is coming is going to be, as I have outlined and we have discussed here, a worst case scenario. Absolute pandemonium, and it's going to be the debt market that implodes. The trigger, I don't know what that trigger is going to be. Like I said, Chuck and I were discussing this yesterday. It's going to be an outlier. It's not going to be something that you can point your finger at. If they're talking about it in advance, let's just say dirty bomb, whatever it might be. Okay, if you can focus on it or point to it, that's not it. It's going to be something way out of left field. Okay, I have no idea. Okay, what this could possibly be, but do expect a false flag event. Okay, for again, you have to realize that central banks are not going to be allowed to be blamed for a thing. Okay, they're going to tell you, okay, this is the reason why. The Federal Reserve and central banks, they've been trying real hard. They have to contain inflation. They've been raising rates. They have. Hasn't worked, was never meant to work. You know that, people. You know this better than anybody. And that is another thing that really gets under my skin worse than I can imagine, because you and I knew from day one it wouldn't work. We discussed right here that they can raise rates from here to kingdom come. It won't make a difference here. It's not a rate issue. This is a currency issue. Central banks are in a race to the bottom. They're killing their currencies by inflating the money supply with no end in sight here. Billions and billions of dollars over for a war, over here for this war. It's not going to stop. It's going to be in the trillions here. Okay, expanding wars. Expect that to get much worse. Okay, by any mechanism they want to. No other endeavor on this planet generates more money, more cash flow for the military-industrial complex than war. That's it. That's their primary goal. Okay. And if you think for a nanosecond that the goal of a government is to protect you, well, you're dead wrong. The goal of a government or any government entity, and that would be the central banks right now, is to protect themselves at the cost of everything else. You understand? I hope you do. I really, really do. Excuse me. Anyway, with that said, before this video gets too long here, let's go look over at the market. Stock futures are under pressure right now. We just had 3 days of gains. We should see a little give back here. If we give it all back, then we know we got a big problem. But look at the 10-year yield, 4.08. Okay, a fraction higher than it was yesterday. However, the dollar is lower. You know this. There is a compensatory mechanism that exists between the 10-year yield and the relative strength of the dollar. So even though we have a 4.08, even if it goes a little bit higher on that 10-year yield today, if the dollar remains weak or weakens, the market's going to shrug it off. It's not going to care too much. Remember, it's not really so much the number. With regard to the 10-year yield, it's the pace at which global bonds are rising, bond yields are rising. Now, we've seen an incredible phenomenon since Nick the Pig was floated out on Friday, which is a complete reversal. Instead of bonds selling off, cash is going into the bond market, pushing yields lower. Okay, it's a setup. As I said, they got every angle covered, central banks, every single one. None of this is out of control. They're in full control. Full. And I mean full. And you haven't seen anything yet with regard to that. So anyway, stock futures lower. 10-year yield in the US dollar. Okay, there's that compensatory mechanism that is working on against each other right now. Check the MMRI today, Mannarino Market Risk Indicator. Link in the description of this video here. Let's see where that goes today. Remember, on Friday, coincidence? Nick the Pig was floated out just as the MMRI crossed the 300 mark to extreme risk. I don't believe that's a coincidence. No, the MMRI works. It works. It's the best market risk indicator that I have ever heard of or seen ever. Okay, and yes, it is my creation. It's my little. I'm little Dr. Frankenstein created the MMRI, but it works. Okay, remember when this thing first came out? I mean, we were like at 80. Now we were at over 300. We came down since Nick the Pig and Mary Daly. All right. Anyway, gold and silver getting bid higher. Cryptocurrency is getting bid higher. Bitcoin about 20,500 right now. Crude oil getting bid higher. Let's see what happens. Okay, with regard to this market, you know how this works. If they manage to, and I think they will, give the illusion, because it's just an illusion, that the debt market is stabilizing here and the dollar relative strength is weakening, the market's going to love it. It's going to be orgasmic. You know what I'm talking about, right? Hey, but it ain't fixing a damn thing. This thing is so far beyond the ability to be fixed, and it's not going to be fixed by design. Central banks are going to continue to inflate. Inflation will continue to rise with no end in sight. But keep your eyes open and your ears open. Watch for what I've been explaining for the past several weeks. A false flag. I feel it in my bones, people. And I'm sure a lot of you do too. All right. With that said, I covered a lot with you today. I hope this has been informative. I hope you got something out of this. All right. I want to hear from you. Please comment. Please share the video. Get it out there. As you all know, this is not my thing. This is our thing. And I am not on a single social media outlet. The only way this message gets out there is from you. You guys and you girls out here, by sharing this on your social networks, by talking about this stuff, by giving this video, my other ones, that thumbs up. That's the only way people know about this stuff. There's no other way. And it's pretty profound if you think about it. I don't know another guy or another situation like this where they are not on a single social media network and continue to grow at a very fast pace. That's you. That's all of you who are bound together and say, hey, you know what? This is important stuff. People need to hear this stuff. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. We need each other, as I always say. And we're making this work. We're making a difference. We're making a positive difference in the world. And that, to me, is the most important thing, period. All right? All right, I'm out of here. Love you a lot. Let's watch the Freak Show. We'll sum this all up later, and I am gone.